Colin, from one middling quarterback to a great one, that's Jalen Hurts. There's some wacky stuff is coming out of Philly. I don't know what to make of this, but there's an insider who's claiming that folks within the Eagles organization have grown frustrated with the quarterback situation. The insider added that some people in the org would like to move off Jalen Hurts, but the money is just makes it impossible. It's almost a Carson Wentz 2.0 situation. I mean, this is all crazy. However, Eagles tackle Jordan Mailata was asked about this, and here's his response.
I don't see it. I know how much work Jalen puts into this, and so, I just have to. I don't know how to address that. It's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy that somebody in the organization would do that. I don't know. He said he's been there a long time, Mount Rushmore, the media, so probably knows a lot of people. But then again, I'm not going to worry about that.
Well, where there's smoke, there's fire. It didn't come out of the middle of nowhere. A lot of good reporters and journalists in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I mean, I just started to do some digging on this guy. We don't need to mention him by name. He's a longtime battle axe in Philadelphia. Colin, let's just be real. Jalen Hurts' last 25 starts, the team's record is 22-3. He was the MVP of the Super Bowl. He was nearly the MVP of another Super Bowl. And some people want to run him out of town?
I don't know. You say battle axe. I say seasoned journalist. He's not making it up. Somebody inside
nobody said he's making anything up. I mean, it's just like he claims to have sources. I don't know.
Well,
this isn't. Let's wait for Schefter, Rappaport, and the guys who are plugged in. Let's see what they say. I just find it very hard to believe that people are seeing this product and saying we've got to move off Jalen Hurts. He's the problem.
What? I would have a hard time people watching this offensive product and saying, yeah, we're better when we throw less. Yeah, that's what the team said last year. Let's throw less. Nobody says that with Josh Allen. I mean, Mahomes, doesn't Mahomes like top 3 in the league in passing attempts? He was at one point. He has no offensive line. He's getting crushed. I mean,
so you're comparing him to 2 MVPs. Interesting. Josh Allen would love to, he would kill. He would maim to get to a Super Bowl, okay? Like, he would do whatever it takes. Like, they ran less, or they ran more because Saquon Barkley had 2,000 yards last year. I mean, this is just staggering. Like, the ineptitude in Philadelphia to think Jalen Hurts is the problem. Colin, how many offensive coordinators has he had in Philly?
Well, he needs
different one every year. Like,
yeah.
What are we doing? I'm just flabbergasted. All right, let's move on to it.
I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to lose my mind. The Buffalo Bills literally asked Josh Allen to throw the ball less, and it was praised. Colin literally said this about Drake May. This is what Colin said about Drake May on his podcast after they beat the Cleveland Browns, and this is what he had to say. I watched his throwing today. Vrabel's such a good coach. They don't ask him to throw 40 times. It's like 18 of 24. I'm watching Drake McKeel's such a good coach. They don't ask him to throw the ball 40 times, 18 to 24. But when the Philadelphia Eagles want to do that with Jalen Hurts, it's because he's bad and he's not good. Do we know how insane that sounds? Do we understand how ridiculous that is? It just drives me crazy. And listen, we're going to have a more nuanced conversation on this right now. I'm not going to focus on Jalen Hurts' past attempts and this or that. We're going to have this conversation is going to go in some different directions. I'm warning you right now. Before we get into it, please, Philadelphia Eagles fans, do not forget to subscribe and watch the full length of this video. That is, as it is, without a shadow of a doubt, the best possible way to support the growth of this channel. That when you guys do that, subscribers go through the roof, views go through the roof, and it's just the best possible way to support the growth of this channel. As I always say, it's not about just trying to chase views, subscribers. It's trying to create content that people want to watch, that people want to be a part of, so we can become firmly rooted in this sports talk world, so I can keep making the best possible Philadelphia Eagles content that I can. Now, let's start to have some weird conversations. Listen, so for this conversation, because I've defended Jalen Hurts, I've spoken about Jalen Hurts endlessly, right? Praised him endlessly. Defended him endlessly. There's no shortage of content of me singing the praises and defending Jalen Hurts. But this is where I want to really have a full 360-degree conversation and really look at this through both a zoomed-in of a lens and as pulled back of a lens as we possibly can. And it's going to get weird. It's going to get uncomfortable at times. It doesn't matter. Don't get too excited in any direction. Okay. Size. Okay, you all ready for this? Let's do it. First off, people are always looking for blame somewhere. Someone is always looking somewhere, so for someone or something to blame. Nobody ever wants to take responsibility themselves, and they always want the easier low-hanging fruit, especially when something is already flagged as problematic, or there's questions or concerns. And so to look at this year when the offense isn't operating at the highest level that we all know and love. Where do you want to point the blame? It's easier to blame a Jalen Hurts. And now, make no mistake about it, these people who are connected or they're in the media or this or that, they're also watching these shows. They're also listening and they're being influenced by other people's views. And so then when you also see some of these conversations go on and on and on, they start to have their views influenced and changed. And now to take it to the next layer, let's say that Jalen Hurts was an actual issue with this team right now. He was a true limiting factor to now pretend, oh, it's impossible. They want to move off him. They want to, but the money makes it impossible. First off, that's nonsense. Because how he has already dealt with dead cat money and has no problems dealing with it. You can be incredibly successful, especially when you're Harry Osman and the Denver Broncos doing it with Russell Wilson. So the whole idea of like, the money doesn't work is absolute nonsense. And there would absolutely be teams that would happily take a Jalen Hurt. So it's not like you just have to give them up for nothing like the Denver Broncos did. I don't believe that. Again, we're talking about Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles. If you don't think that they would have a way to find their way out of this situation, you're delusional and you don't understand how the Philadelphia Eagles have operated. They literally have a statue of a coach who they then fired a couple years later, who delivered them their first ever Super Bowl. Like we're talking about ruthless here. And I appreciate it. Something that I respect about the Eagles, but I mean, you can go down the list of teams that would be very happy to have a Jalen Hurts as their quarterback. There's no shortage of teams that would be like, yeah, sure. Yeah, no, definitely. We'll take Jalen. It's going to be an upgrade. Again, even if you think Jalen Hurts is not a good quarterback, let's say that's just your belief. He's still an upgrade over at least half the quarterbacks out there. Okay, that's just a fact. And he's a Super Bowl MVP, a leader, and he doesn't cost $900 million here. So that's the thing, like his contract itself is not like who wants that 65, 75 million contract. Like that's not the case. So that's nonsense. And now that's where Tanner McKee comes in. I've had the conversations with other Philadelphia Eagles fans, and you know my take has always been clear as throat, especially with the Eagles, that it is very much like keep up or get left behind. You either continue to ball or you're not. The expectations are absolutely through the roof. And so even though Nick Sirianni won a Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts won a Super Bowl. If they do not perform well, if they come up short, like they are always on the hot seat, like that's just the way it works. They're not the Dallas Cowboys. They're not just sitting there and letting this thing bake if they believe that they can succeed, at a higher level than they are. And so if Howie reaches the conclusion, you know what? I actually don't think Nicky is the coach. Yeah, they won a lot. We built an amazing team. You know what? Yeah, Jalen Hurts, he won. Yeah, he was the MVP. I just look what they're doing. They're not getting the job done. Like they would take action. And that's where you have then Tanner McKee. Whereas if Tanner McKee was a true upgrade, because again, we're having the conversation through the lens of Jalen Hurts is not good enough. He is a problem for this team. If we reach that conclusion, we say, okay, that's true. What quarterback are you getting? What quarterback? Like think of like the actual kind of available quarterbacks. M. Jones, it's like, okay. Kyler Murray, it's like, okay. Joe Flacco, it's like, okay. It's just like you're not gonna now go draft a quarterback because again, and I say that's where Tanner McKee enters. So just remember, still Tanner McKee, on the on-deck circle. And you're just like Trey Lance, you got to start to think outside the box because there is no unique situation where you're just like, there's Matthew Stafford with the Detroit Lions, and he's just like, I got to get out of here. You're wasting my career. And the Lions are struggling so badly. They're like, we'll be grateful. You know what? We are going to send you on your way, and we'll be grateful for kind of like whatever we can get back. where it's like, if you had Stafford still truly struggling with the Lions, and the Lions are just like, man, we're such a mess. We're got to do anything with. And they're like, okay, well, listen, we'll trade you Jalen Hurts. He's good enough, and he's a leader, Super Bowl MVP. He can bring a winning culture to your team, blah, 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 blah. Give us Stafford, and like, like, okay, boom, right? Like, you could inconceivably see something like that. There's no equivalent of that right now. There's none. Zero. What's the situation where that could even remotely happen? I don't see it. The closest you get to that is Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, specifically because Joe Burrow especially keeps getting injured, and you're just like, hey, Bengals, you've been a mess. You've been a mess of a franchise. Your quarterback keeps getting injured. We'll be willing to send you Jalen Hurts. We'll take on the burden of is Joe Burrow going to be healthier or not? And maybe the Bengals are kind of like, we're sick of this quarterback getting injured. We'll take Jalen Hurts. He's actually won a Super Bowl and MVP. Again, these are obviously made up scenarios, but you have to just try to really force yourself. If you're reaching the conclusion Jalen Hurts is not good enough, then what are even close to being the options, then even if Jalen Hurts costs $0, right? If Tua with the Dolphins was actually a great quarterback, but they're just such a mess. That team is just such a mess. They're firing their coach. They're firing their GM. The owner is just like, this is a disaster. We are hitting the recent. We're getting rid of everyone. And it's like, okay, you can make a move and be like, we'll take Tua and we'll give you Jalen Hurts. He could be your bridge quarterback and blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, where is it? Where is it when you're looking at these teams, right? It just doesn't exist at all right now. And there's no quarterback that's actually truly great with a team that's just like, dude, you're wasting my career right now. And any of the arguments that you could get close to that could be like a Josh Allen. And again, they're not bad enough like the Lions were, where you think that Josh Allen can just be like, send me to the Eagles, please, man. I went on a vacation and met up with Nick Sirianni in Bermuda, and we were like, hell, we doing this thing. And it's like, it's just, you just don't see it happening. So then it's like, what are the options? Tyler McKee and drafting a quarterback. One, who are you drafting right now? Name the quarterback. Who you're drafting right now, especially with this elite stacked roster. If this roster is elite and stacked and amazing, and the coaching staff, all of it is locked, set, and the only thing that's holding you back is a quarterback. You're not going to draft a 22-year-old. You're going to draft a 23-year-old. Even if you have the number 1 overall pick, and you can be like, you're going to get Arch Manning. He's going to lead this roster. He's going to be able to be in his prime and lead this roster today to a Super Bowl, who will be able to elevate this team in a way that Jalen Hurts can't. It's like, okay. And that's why I keep going back to Tanner McKee. It's like, all right, now if you want to deal with the dead cat money, now if you want to deal with the uncomfortable situation of what do we do, it's like, if Tyler McKee is truly elite, if Tyler McKee is truly special and he can really be an awesome quarterback, well, then the money doesn't matter. The situation doesn't matter. You could literally just cut Jay. You can be back. Get out of here. Pretty much what the Broncos did, which again, I don't think they would do, but let's just say they're just saying, we got to get rid of him. We're going to get rid of him for a bag of chips and a 3rd-round pick. Get him out of this building. Tyler McKee is the next Tom Brady. Or the Eagles would do it. And they would succeed right away then, because they have the roster, they have the coach, they have the quarterback. Boom. Let's go. Let's party. And so even in the most extreme scenario where Tanner McKee is him and Jalen Hurts is not, it would be an incredibly easy decision for the Eagles, and they wouldn't hesitate. Yeah, it would look a little cold. Yeah, it would look a little rough. But if Tanner McKee is him and they start winning, A.J. Brown's feasting, Devontae's feasting, the run game's opened up now. Kevin Patullo is looking like a great OC, and they're just like rolling and they rip off another Super Bowl or two. People are going to be like, man, the Eagles, they're a brilliant franchise. They do what they need to do. Yeah, it felt ruthless in that moment, but Tanner McKee is the 2nd best quarterback in the NFL. He's thrown for 4,500 yards and 45 touchdowns. This is the quarterback that the Eagles have needed for years. And then you start to have conversations of like, can Tyler McKee surpass Patrick Mahomes? Right? Like, it's like, and then no one's concerned that the Eagles moved on from Jalen Hurts. They're just like, man, do the Eagles know how to draft quarterbacks? Harry Roseman is a genius. Jeffrey Lurie is just amazing. The Philadelphia Eagles are just historic, and it just becomes, it is what it is. Just like, yeah, it is what it is. The Rams getting rid of Goff. Oh, man, that's ruthless. They win the Super Bowl. They win the Super Bowl with Stafford, and they're just like, that's Sean McVay. So Sean is what they do. He knew he needed a better coach. He needed a better quarterback. Just is what it is. It just is what it is. And if you think out of all the teams that are willing to make ruthless, hey man, Nothing personal, just business. I mean, come on. You think the Eagles aren't in that category of like, we get things done? Come on. And that's the thing. If Tyler McKee is also him, you're going to see it in the playoffs. Excuse me, maybe. But you're going to see it in practice. You're going to see it. You're going to feel it. The roster is going to know it. You would hear whispers. We have an inside source that said A.J. Brown was playing a video game, and he was talking about it with a friend. And he actually said that Tyler McKee is actually a better quarterback than Jalen. Like, you would hear that. That would trickle out. And again, I think Tyler McKee has the potential to be awesome, but is in such a narrow, limited window. And so, what are you going to do? But my take going into this season was that if the Philadelphia Eagles don't look good, especially offensively, there will still continue to be that pressure on Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. And especially with the performances that we saw out of Tanner McKee, it gives you a legitimate path forward. And this is where things then get interesting, because I'm surprised, especially when the Eagles were getting blown out, maybe Tanner McKee wasn't healthy yet. I know he hurt his hand or his thumb or whatever the heck it was when they were getting blown out by the Giants, and it was clearly like there was just no comeback. It was like, why didn't we see it out of me? Because it's not a benching. It's just like teams do this all the time. It happened to Dak Prescott. Like, it's just, we're pulling you. Yeah, we don't want you to get banged up. We don't want you to get injured. I mean, Jalen Hurts almost had a concussion, maybe even had a concussion this season alone. So it's not inconceivable of just like, yeah, we'll take you out and we're going to throw in Tyler McKee now for the for the fourth or for the final 8 minutes, whatever it is, and then you get to do a little bit of a trial run. But you get to see how does he look against a right now with this O-line, with this team, with these with these pieces, et cetera, et cetera. And I just think out of all the teams to really take that chance, it would be the Philadelphia Eagles. And so there is that path forward. And I don't know, you can say lots of people within the Eagles are frustrated with the quarterback situation. If that's true, would then the Eagles have a true move? And if Tanner McKay has proven, listen, yeah, that was fun. We saw him in a preseason game. We saw him in a regular season game against, I think it was against the Giants or the Cowboys. I think it was the Giants. Final game of the season. If that was just kind of fool's gold and it was like, dude, it was the end of the season. It was a bad team. And then he did it again in a preseason game. Preseason games mean nothing. And it was just like, he's an okay quarterback. He's okay. He's not bad, not terrible, not trash, just not better than Jalen. It's like, okay, you're frustrated with the quarterback situation. What's the move? Where are you going? What quarterback are you magically going to have? Tell me if it doesn't exist. Well, then what are we talking about? And then we then say, okay, what is more conceivably the problem then? Is it the O-line issues? Is it the coordinating issues? Is it that A.J. Brown isn't winning as many matchups as he used to? But then also kind of like, well, you still have Saquon, you still have Devont, you still have enough. And it's like, yeah, okay. And then it's just like, then you kind of have to have a lot more of a nuanced conversation of like, okay, but to me, when you have a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, you see what he was able to do in 22. You see what he was able to do in, in really 22, 23, and 24. And even throughout the course of this season, you clearly see the potential. You clearly see the realized potential. You clearly see the big moments in multiple Super Bowl games, in multiple playoff games, in regular season games. Like you see that when you actually put Jalen Hurts in a position to succeed, he absolutely positively does. Absolutely positively does. You don't have to question that. You're not concerned about that. Okay? Jalen Hurts' bad game is they can't get the pass game going. They're struggling to move the ball down the field. No one's open, blah, 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 blah. Bad game for M. Jones or Sam Darnold is 37 interceptions. It's like Daniel Jones. You're watching him and you're like, I don't know if this guy knows how to play quarterback. Dak Jones has Dak Jones. Dak Prescott has never shown to be ready for the biggest move. Does anyone have any degree of confidence that if you threw Dak Prescott, hopefully I said Daniel Jones earlier and not Dak Jones. I don't think I did, but Dak Prescott into a Super Bowl that if he was going up against the Kansas City Chiefs and he was playing for the Philadelphia Eagles, does anyone have confidence that that man is showing up? If you do, you're delusional. You're crazy. I'd make the argument right now. Let's take a look at this. Over this last, stretch of Super Bowls, I'd say truly, if we start from 2015, Tom Brady absolutely elevated his game. We're not going to use Nick Foss because he obviously isn't a regular season starter and he's obviously not playing right now. But Tom Brady elevated his game truly. Can't really say Patrick Mahomes did. Honestly, the closest you can get to him saying that he elevated his game was against the Philadelphia Eagles, but he didn't throw 30 times. He threw for like 180 yards. Like right now, especially if it wasn't for those garbage time touchdowns that he had against the Eagles when he was getting blown out, he would have like the same number of touchdowns and intercept. It's either like the exact same number or it would be like one off. He would have, it would be like 10 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, whatever. So it's like you can't say that he's absolutely bona fide, elevates his game. And in fact, his passer rating complete, all that stuff goes down. Joe Burrow did not elevate. Matthew Stafford did not elevate. Brock Purdy did not elevate. Realistically speaking, Jalen Hurts in the last like 10 years or so is realistically the only quarterback that truly, without a shadow of a doubt, you don't have to kind of be like, well, yeah, elevated his absolute individual game in the Super Bowl in the biggest moment and had to take on the biggest burden again in these last 10 years. Jalen Hurts in both of his Super Bowls had to take on way more of a burden than, say, even Tom Brady, winning in Tampa Bay, and Matthew Stafford winning with the Rams, Patrick Mahomes and any of his Super Bowls. Jalen Hurts had to take on such a greater burden of the offense to really bring it home for his team. And that's why you saw the numbers. That's why you see the total yards. That's why you see the completion percentage. That's why you see the touchdowns, the rushing yards, breaking rushing records, right? Like you can see that you saw the lack of run support that he had in both Super Bowls, et cetera, et cetera. He hung 35 points in his Super Bowl loss. 35 points. 35. Even when he lost, he's hanging a ton. MVP Atlanta Falcons, they score 28. The New England Patriots against the Philadelphia Eagles, 33. The Los Angeles Rams, 13-3. The San Francisco 49ers, 20. The Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, 9. The Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow, 20. Matthew Stafford with OBJ with Cooper Kupp, 23. He hung 35 points. Brock Purdy, that stacked roster, Christian McCaffrey, Ayuk, Debo, Shanahan, they scored 22 points. He scored 35 in a loss. That's got to count for something. And listen, despite what many people may think, I don't got loyalty to anyone when watching these games and these players and these teams. I really don't. If the actual conclusion is that Jalen Hurts is not a good enough quarterback and that Tanner McKee is legitimately great and can be special and can be huge, I'm like, all right, yeah, go for it. I'm like, yeah, I'm not on the team. I'm not getting paid to make the decisions. I know it's cold-blooded. I don't know. It just is what it is. Like I take a step back in that. I know it's got to be Jalen Hurts and he won the Super Bowl and he's this and he's that. Again, I got endless videos praising and defending, telling you how inspired I am by him and all of that. But it's like, I'm not making the decisions. I have no, nothing to gain or lose in this. Like, I'm just having the conversations. And so it's like, if that's the conclusion, fine. And I'll talk about it. And if it ends up being accurate and Tanner McKee elevates his team, I'll be like, yeah, Tyler McKee is better than Jalen Hurts. And this Philadelphia Eagles team is better with Tyler McKee. And Jalen Hurts I'll be like, oh yeah, that was the take. That's the reality, and we'll talk about it. And if not, we'll talk about that, that's just the way I look at it. But I just want to do so accurately. I don't want to hide behind any of this nonsense of, well, the Eagles asked them to throw less. Or, well, they want to, but like the money doesn't make sense. Of course it does. Money always makes sense. They always find ways. Are you kidding me? There's a gajillion-dollar industry. They always find ways, right? Oh, all of a sudden, I don't know how money works. Oh, the salary cap. What do we do? Right, like get out of here. No, absolutely not. But it's just so interesting because Colin went on a whole rant today about his top 15 quarterbacks. And he has a whole rant about how all these top quarterbacks have great coaches. So his whole rant, he went on a whole thing about like every single one of, there's not a single exception. They all had great coaching. And now we know Colin does not believe Sirianni is a great coach, and he's now and Jalen has had now a new coordinator every single year, and we saw what Daniel Jones is doing with Shane Steichen. What if Shane Steichen had been his coach for the last 5 or so years? Do we think Jalen Hurts could look a lot better? What do you think? You tell me. So wouldn't that be the more logical thing to look for? Wouldn't that be more of the logical conclusion to say, well, the run game's not very good? Because again, this is also what Colin Cowherd had to say. Yeah, I just think they can't run the ball. I don't think it's that, it seems to me they want to run the ball and they can't, and that's the beginning of the end to all their offensive issues. So why can't they run the ball? Well, I think their offensive line has been disappointing. I think that interior line play has been bad. Banks, who they paid a fortune for from the Nares, has not been good at all. Why are we not talking about that being a limiting factor for this Philadelphia Eagles offense? We know it's good when we want the quarterback to throw less. Mike Rabel is so smart. He only wants Drake May, who is apparently a top 8 quarterback, according to Colin, to only throw the ball 18 to 24 times, not 35, 40. We know the Packers are struggling because they want to be able to run the ball, but they can't. But why can't they run the ball? Not because their running back has regressed, but because their O-line hasn't been good enough. You understand things get a little murky. You understand that Jalen Hurts actually gets pressured more than Jordan Love per pass attempt, per drop back at a higher percentage. You understand that the Philadelphia Eagles have a pass block win rate of 62%. So that's 19th in the NFL. So you know who's higher than them? The 49ers, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Seattle Seahawks, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Everybody was crying about all the injuries that Baker had to deal with on the old line. Well, they're actually pass blocking better. The Tennessee Titans have a better pass block win rate right now. The Washington Commanders, I mean, Geno Smith, who is running for his life, is at 60%. The Philadelphia Eagles are 62%. So he's got Geno beat by 2%. J.J. McCarthy and Carson Wentz, who have been getting swallowed up by that Minnesota Vikings Island O-line, 59%, 62%. The Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, 70% top 4 pass block win rate. Pretty interesting. But then it's funny because then you have the Kansas City Chiefs, like, well, they can't run the ball. They're all line and blah, 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 blah. 71%. Yet the Philadelphia Eagles have a 72% pass block, run block win rate. It's a 1% difference. And it's a 1% difference between being the 22nd ranked team in the NFL in terms of run block win rate. The Jacksonville Jaguars block better. The Green Bay Packers with those O-line problems, pass block win rate of 70%. And a run block win rate of 71%. Okay, it's a difference between 1%. They have a 1% difference. And yet Colin's like, this pass block, when, you know, the pass blocking, the run blocking hasn't been good. It hasn't been good for the Eagles then. And what's so great about this stat, which I actually really, really do like it, is that it controls for a quarterback holding onto the ball for too long and whatnot. It really is. Are you able to sustain what you need to do within the compounds of what you can rely, right? And we're not asking you, are you failing to hold up a block for like 5 seconds because your quarterback is just like holding on for it and he's like scared and doesn't know what to do, right? You know, it's 2.5 seconds or longer. So you lose if that breaks down before 2.5. And that's why, you know, it's like, you know, your pass rush win rate tells you how often a pass rusher is able to beat his block within 2.5 seconds, right? Within that number of 2.5. So the stat itself is inherently controlled, which makes it a pretty accurate stat. But nope, let's not focus on that. Let's just focus on that man right there. It's all about him. It's all about the guy who's one of the greatest Super Bowl performers of all time. It's not honestly an opinion. It's just a literal, genuine statistical fact. The Super Bowl MVP. And again, it's not an opinion. It's just an actual fact. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts and this quarterback situation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment, so you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.